All right, team. So today we've got a guest series with Kieryn and Erin. They're designing an app that allows you to share pieces of data with whoever you want. We're going to set up the database models, what they're trying to achieve, and how we can model that in the DB. And then we're going to go through some best practices and little special tips and tricks that we could use so that this app will be maintainable and also flexible in the long run. So let's dive in. All right, Kieryn, tell us about your project and what you're trying to achieve.
Yep. So Erin and I were talking with some people, and a problem arose, specifically with real estate agents. They tend to give out their bank details via email just because they work at pace, and ask that people deposit whatever they need to if they're renting a place or putting a deposit down or something like that into those bank details. Giving them across the internet is unsecure. Across email is unsecure because if a scammer or someone gets a hold of anywhere in that process, either on their website, their email or another, they can change those bank details and send another email, and then it just goes into their account. So what we wanted to do was create a simple application which stores your semi-secure details, so not your passwords and stuff, but your semi-secure details that you would give out to people, and then you can decide what details to give, bundle them together, and then send out like a code, and that code can be emailed, and the person has to go to the website that we create, put in that code, which will reveal those details. There are many different ways, other nuances there, but that's the main chunk of it.
Okay, cool. So sharing via email obviously opens you up to the same kind of thing, because we could build a website that's similar and then send you there. So how would we get around that one?
Well, we've spitballed a couple of ideas. Ken, you've helped out as well. And one of the main ones we're thinking about right now is to bake in a physical step. So real estate agents like giving out business cards. If we put a business card on the front, their normal business card, flip it over, it has a QR code, or it has a code, has their details, which can go to our website, which will then give out reveal the details that they need to deposit money, or something like that.
Cool.
Was there another way that we were thinking?
The other one might, I don't know, maybe like a two-step verification kind of system where you whitelist like a phone number or an email address. That person enters their phone number or email with a two-step verification, and then rather than having to get a separate code, it's just logging in, like entering your email address and then getting that information that's available. Yeah.
Okay.
It's another idea, but
that's cool. Yep, that's another option. So what have you got in terms of DB modeling at the moment? What kind of entities are we talking?
So we want to start with the lowest viable product. So we're not going crazy. We have grand ambitions for creating like people can put in any details, and it can be anything, and then you can bundle them together somehow and then give them out in a code. But for now, it's just going to be real estate agents giving bank details out. So we need users that are real estate agents. We'll probably need the organization, which is a real estate agent. We'll need a way, like somehow put them together in like bank details. But flexible enough that it's not just bank details.
Yep.
Then a way to because later on down the track, we'll want to give the user flexibility to put different details together into like a bundle and then send them out, and that reveals the bundle. So some sort of bundling type table that's really flexible. And then users don't just need to be real estate agents from an organization that is a real estate agent. It could be users from anyone. So anyone can use it to store their semi-secure details to give out later.
Yep.
And it could be from any organization doing anything. So it's important. This step was really important at the start to get this right, because we could just do real estate agents from a real estate agent giving out bank details. But when it scales, that's really inflexible, and we couldn't use it later down the track, like just to use for anyone.
Yep.
Maybe plumbers, something like that.
Yep, cool. So I think the original concept was you had a agent, and that was an acting as a user, or acting as an agent, and you had an organization named agency or real estate agency. Yeah.
Yeah.
So offline, we discussed maybe changing it to a user's model with a role, and then an organization rather than an agency, so that you could be any vertical. You don't have to be real estate; you could be anything else.
Okay, cool.
Yep. So that just makes it a bit more flexible moving forward, and allows you to, pivot to any vertical that you need to. Okay. Was there anything else that you guys thought that you wanted to offer in the system?
No, we hadn't thought that. I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on that?
I guess just flexibility in the types of information that you could send securely.
Yep. Yep. Okay, cool. Another thing you probably want to share or keep track of is opens or activity. Some sort of like when someone opens an event or a view event, something like that.
Okay.
It can be like someone looked at this data.
That's a good idea.
So that you can keep track, especially if it is like there's something that I've shared with someone that I should probably close that or cancel that. The other thing would be an actual share itself. I would imagine that these would be unique, because you want to share a special code per person that you're sending it to, right? So you can disable access, right?
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Because if you just basically generate one link for all the data, say that was my phone number, I give out that code, I have no way of revoking. If I revoke it from Kieryn, it revokes it for everyone. So realistically, to make this flexible, you want to have basically a shared link, some sort of like share link, which then controls what data it has access to, and it's unique per user that you send it to. Right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
The use case of putting this link on business cards and then giving it out to a whole bunch of people then.
Yep. So that'll be harder. Is a flaw in that system, in the physical cards system.
Yep.
Because you have to, it's going to be a generic URL. So this is something that you wouldn't want to revoke. This is something that you're happy for someone to just always have access to. So it could be your bank account details, because you only can deposit. You can't pull away money from that. So that would be fine. But like if it was something like, hey, you can have my address to my house, like if you're to your mates, over 10 years, you don't see this person, probably just pull that away, so they don't know where you live anymore.
Oh, okay. Yeah, like a date that revokes. Yeah.
It could, that's one way. You could have a unique share link that you share with everyone, the same share link, and that's what you could print a card on for your bank details. And then you could do a one-time share link. I'm going to give you this, and I'm going to share this piece of info. And then I'm going to revoke that after X time, and then you can't see it anymore.
Yep.
Right. Okay. Anything else?
No. I think that's a good starting point.
Okay, awesome. All right, so let's start opening up. Pull this out. Okay, so the first model that we want is users. So this one here. So I'll just pull this up here. I'll bump this up. Can you guys see it properly?
Yep, good enough.
Yeah.
Good enough. I'll do.
Yeah, that's
better.
Perfect.
And if I zoom that out, there we go.
Yeah.
All good?
Yep.
Make it. Okay. So we have users. One thing we haven't spoken about is auth. So how are you authenticating users? Like an actual person as an account?
It would be Auth0 where we'll be using. Is that what?
Using Auth0? Okay.
Yep.
So what I would do here is I would create a table called an account, or it could be even a user account. And the reason I do this is so it's flexible. So if you want to introduce a different auth provider like Facebook login or something later, you can. and you're not tied to Auth0. Because what can happen is if you just have an Auth0 ID on your users table, it'll lock you into there and make it very hard to disconnect, and it won't allow users to have multiple accounts, like auth accounts, right?
Okay.
So what we do here is we have an ID, which is integer, and that's your primary key, which is just standard. And then we're going to have a user ID, and that will be an integer. And then we're going to have, it's like a provider, right? So it's like your auth provider. This will be a string. And that can be like Auth0, or it could be Facebook, or it could be anything like that.
Yep.
And then you'd have auth provider ID. And this will be an integer, or I mean, probably a string, just so it's more flexible, because some auth providers provide IDs as strings, like a UUID. Does that make sense? Okay, so I'm borrowing this concept from NextAuth, which allows you to have multiple different auth providers, and it'll store it against the user. So it'll be the Facebook, and then you could have whatever else, Microsoft or Google or whatever you know what I mean? Okay, so that links, that's your user account. And now your users will have, are you going to be a username or email? What's more important? Are you going to be a username-based system or a full name-based system? So it'll be like Ken Grief or K Grief.
Is there like benefits to one over the other? I haven't thought about this.
Usually in systems, username-based is a bit more like anonymous, because you can create any username. You could be like Green Unicorn 7. But in a system like this, where it's a bit more official, I'd probably go with like a first name, last name.
Okay.
Or yeah, so you could even go full name here and have first name, last name.
Okay.
Okay, so then also we need a table here for organizations. So this will grab their ID. And this will have probably a title. All right. So these tables can grow over time as well. Like as you want to add more information, you could be adding an address to the table if you needed to, or contact details, etc. So, I mean, again, you're going to kind of be storing those pieces of information as details, right? Because your address can be something you sharing itself. So it doesn't need to be on the table itself.
Yes.
Okay, so now because you've got organizations and users, what you want to do is you want to also have a table called organizations _ users for the Rails naming convention. We forgot to also say that this can probably be built on a Rails API. Is that correct?
Yep, it is.
Yep. Okay, so just the naming that I'm using here is Rails style tables. So also remember to use big int for IDs. I don't know if this DB diagram supports, but you use a big int. It allows the integer to be much bigger, 64-bit. So then what we have here in this join table is the user ID, and we also have the organization ID. And now also what you want to have here is you'll have things like rules like, are you the owner? Or an admin. So you can either belong to an organization as an owner of that organization or an admin of that organization. And if none of those are selected, you're going to just be a user. Right? So it gives different access levels into a single organization.
Okay.
Makes sense?
Yep.
Right. So this is kind of something that I've kind of learned over time from like your GitHubs and stuff. Like any user can join any organization, and then once they're inside of that organization, you can give them different kind of permissions or roles inside of that. Okay, very flexible. So we've got organizations, we've got organization users. What else do we need? So you're going to have, because the users are really just the people that are creating the data. You don't need to register the person you're sending the data to, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
If we want to track like blah 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 opened the link like for activity or something like that.
So you'd probably do it via the link itself. So you could either tag the link and say like I'm sending this to Ken, or it's like my bank account details, and you could require someone to enter their email address or phone number when they open a link. Depends how you want to handle that. So it'll just say like someone with the phone number 04043661 whatever opened up that link, and you could because I like the 2FA ID. It's like you enter your phone number, then it sends you the link. Or unlocks the link for you when you click on something in your phone. Right? Like
we talked about that before, and your consensus was that's an extra step that a real estate agent would have to do to whitelist something, and they probably wouldn't do that just because of timing.
Yeah, it depends how easy you want it to be, right? So usually with like simplicity or easiness comes insecurity. But it depends. Also, like if you're printing a card, that's pretty secure because offline, like you can't. It'll be hard for someone to intercept that transaction. So someone's got cards, they attach it to a bunch of paper that they hand over, and then from there the person scans card. There's no real way to intercept unless you're going to print that same card, or do you know what I mean? So that's one way. So let's just see how we can do these proper joins. This is a little bit. We just have to know the syntax here. So it's organization users dot user ID goes to users.id. See, so it sets that up for us. ID link to user ID. And then we copy. There we go. Okay, so let's link that. You can see there. We don't need this follows table. You're going to need your timestamps. You created that and updated that, but that should come when you set it up in Rails.
That comes when you start
your models.
Yeah, when you did.
I'll just chuck them in there. Just are there? I need this. Okay. We don't need users follows. We don't need posts. Okay, how are we looking? Okay, so user accounts will sit up here. So grab. Is this just stop me if it's not making sense? Huh?
Nope, it's fine right now. Yep.
All good. We don't need posts.
Posts going.
All right, that's what we're looking at so far.
Okay.
Cool.
All good?
Yeah.
So the user and organization structure.
Yeah. Okay. So now what we want to do is we want to think of kind of like a details group or a detail. What is a piece of information called or named? So that's what we want to come up with here. So it's like, what is the piece of a clean name for a single piece of information?
Just one piece of information,
like one piece of information.
BSB number or something like that.
Yeah, or bank account. It could literally be anything. Yeah.
And this is the problem that we had about this. How far out do we split these things? Like BSB is one chunk of information, but it sits with an account number and an account name.
Yeah.
And that fits into like a bank account.
So for simplicity, what you could do is just store these as text. So the multi-line field in the DB. So you could type account name, Ken Grief, BSB 0000, enter account that single piece of information, and that's my bank account details. So it's a piece of data.
So you place it in a data object in a row.
So not a data object. I'm just trying to think of the name.
Okay. Yeah.
So I'm going to just call it an information item for now. That's a working title. We're not going to stick with that. So I'm just going to show you how I'm thinking. So you're going to have an ID. I would have a title. So it's use of Prisma. So ID, title, and then I would have which would be the body, and that's going to be text. Okay, so it's a Postgres in the DB. It's going to be a text field, multi-line.
Mhm.
So you can store any sort of text in there. And
Okay.
then what else do we need on there? We probably don't need much more to it, right? This will belong to an organization. So you're going to have organization ID,
Mhm.
and then we're going to link these two together. So ID is going to belong to information item dot organization ID.
Does he? So a user would not necessarily have to belong to an organization if, like, later down the track, a like just a single person like wants to use this system to just store their details, but they don't belong to a company.
Yes, I would use the model regardless if it's a company or not. So
Okay.
I would, if you sign up as an individual user, it's like cool, and you're going to sign up as Ken. I'm just going to create an organization called
Okay.
Ken's Home,
Hmm.
right? It doesn't
Cool.
matter. It doesn't have to be a ABN, ACN kind of style thing, but it
Hmm.
allows you to create that ability for users to say, I'm Ken, right? And it's my family data, and I want to bring in another person into that to manage the
Hmm.
data. If you
Hmm.
don't do the organization step, you're going to end up with this like kind of orphaned data that you have to now create an organization that you can share into. So if you just keep the model like this, and then you can shape things how you feel as people come on.
Okay.
I think it just, you could have users' own information items or organizations' own information items. You could do that as well. You are going to
Hmm.
add complexity. And it's not bad complexity either. It's like, if that's how you want to run it, you could. Then you don't have to have like, it's kind of like a vault, right? The organization acts as like a house that allows multiple people to join to it. So you could just set up a vault, like, and you could just chuck organization, the whole concept in the bin as well. And because that's another way. So this is it's an interesting thought experiment. So let's go down this route. So instead of calling it organizations, you call it vaults. And very similar concept to an organization. So we're just changing the way it works. So this could be a better way of doing it. It's just a naming, right? But it's the same concept. So we go here, vaults.
Vaults. Okay.
You know what I mean? Like it's just a vault of it, like a. So we go here, change that to vault ID. Common out here. Yeah. Get rid of all this. Vaults have vault items. That even makes more sense.
Okay.
So you create a vault of information.
Hmm.
And then inside of this, we're going to have, I'm going to copy here. Am I stumbling over my words a little bit?
No, that makes sense.
I'm just with the feedback. I feel like I sound like a novice. Anyway, Vault ID, Vaults users. Where are you, Chief? Can you see that table?
Vault users.
That's
No.
Vaults users. Where are you, brother?
What?
There we go. It's just off screen,
Oh, okay. Hidden away.
hidden away.
Okay, so we're getting rid of organization complexity.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
So Vaults users. So you become an admin or an owner of a vault, and that's how you can kind of control the organization flow.
Okay. All right. Yep.
It's just a new name.
Technically, a vault will still be an organization. It could be.
Could be. Yeah, it could be. Let's call it Cunningham's Real Estate Vault. Yeah. It gives you the flexibility, but without tying it to an organization. It also means that users can own vaults, and it doesn't feel like, oh, you're an organization. No, that doesn't make sense. Just like as you're building out the system. So let's do this. Vaults users. Okay.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
then vaults users.
Background there.
Sorry?
Sorry, mate. There's a bit of background noise from the outside, so we're muting when we're not talking.
Oh, okay, cool. No worries.
Yeah.
Thought it was on my side. Sweet. How can we make this look right there?
Meh.
Makes sense?
Not our video. Yes, I like it.
What's going
Okay.
on in there, mate?
Oh, just the train tracks in the back, mate. It's crazy.
Okay.
All right.
Sweet. So we have user accounts. So that can be auth provider, auth0. That would be the auth0 ID of the user.
Okay.
That would link to a user model, which you
Mhm.
can have full name. We won't have a role. It's not actually relevant right now. And then we have vault users. So this
Mhm.
shows how a user connects to a vault, and they can be an admin or an owner of that vault. That means like Ken can create a new vault, personal info. I'm the owner, I'm the admin when I create it originally.
Yep.
And then each vault can have an item inside of it. So it can be just a piece of data, right?
Perfect.
So that vault controls those items.
Yep.
Make sense so far?
Yep. I like it. Actually, really good.
I think that's quite flexible, yeah?
Yeah, very.
Yeah, so it'll fix companies and also fix personal. So that was a good one suggestion that you threw in there.
The vault items table is going to get so bloated.
It'll only have one item. Do you mean the whole table? It's just pieces of data?
Yeah. Yeah, the whole table.
Doesn't matter.
Okay.
Like you can have millions of records and Postgres will handle that, no problem.
Okay.
Yeah. So realistically, you're gonna have, like most people probably have one vault. Like if you're just doing your basic use case, it'll be a vault and it'll have bank account details. That'll be one item in a vault. So yeah, if it gets bloated, it means you're doing a great job. If you're killing it. So all good.
That's a good problem.
It's a good problem to have. Yeah, my table's too big.
Yeah.
All good. So the next thing that you want to probably set up here is like let's call it a share link.
Yeah.
This is the thing that will create basically the code that you'll be able to access this data from.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So you'll have a token, and this will be a string, and this will be this will be a unique. There'll be a unique column because we can't have a share link with the same token, right? Because that's if you can't hand out the same key because it's going to show us the same data. So we need this to be unique. So it'll be on the table, be unique. I don't know how you do it in this, but it'll be similar to primary key. It'll be a unique constraint.
Mhm.
You can do it in Rails very easily, and that will need to be indexed as well.
Okay.
For speed and performance, because you're going to be looking up by that token. Okay?
Yep. Cool.
You're going to probably give it a title. Like it could be like my bank account details share link.
Oh, okay. Yeah, they can give it a title. Cool.
Yep. Just for organization. So when you create multiple share links, you can see, that's my bank, and I want to go into that and then see what's inside of that.
Yeah, cool. Okay. Makes sense.
The next table that you're going to want to have is probably a share link, basically share linked vault items. To join.
Okay. So you can put a share link to a bunch of vault items.
You got it.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have vault item ID, and you're going to have share link ID. Okay, and our timestamps. Oh, what is going on here? There we go.
Mm-hmm.
So let's put this here. Okay, so now we need to just create the join between them. So it's going to be share links dot ID is equal to oh yeah. And then share links vault items dot cool. Sweet. So we can create a share link, and we probably want to have the user who that belongs to as well. So a share link could have a user ID, or it could even belong to a vault.
It belonged to a vault, wouldn't it?
Yeah, so you can do that if you want, yeah.
Yeah.
So we're going to add on here. Okay. And then we're going to have.
Yep.
Yeah.
Cool.
I would also do here, I would have expires that, which is optional.
Okay.
That means you, oh, that's on the wrong thing. It needs to be here. So you can expire a link. So if you send out a link and you're like, yeah, I want this to expire in a month or 2 or 6 months or a year, whatever you want, you can do that. Just creates a little bit more flexibility there. So it automatically revokes itself. Yeah.
Should it be an active?
You can add active and inactive as well. By having expires that, it just allows you to set and forget. Like I'm going to share this data for X time, then after a while, it's going to turn off.
Oh, yeah? So okay, that would be built what in the controller or the front end?
Yeah. So you basically, when you look up to validate a share link, you're going to look up for the token, and then you're going to see if it hasn't expired yet and if it's active.
Cool. Well, so it doesn't need the active boolean then.
It will need the active too. It's good because that's a way of deleting. So you can soft delete. So if you go, I'm done with that share link, you can manually turn it off because you don't want to just have an expires that column. You want to also be able to just go in there and go like disable.
Okay, yeah. Otherwise, yep. If someone says my share link's no longer good.
Yeah, you say, I want to just quickly turn that off. I've accidentally shared away my something that I shouldn't have done.
Cool.
Delete it. Okay, so you got share links, you got vault items. By having this means you can share individual pieces, which is one of your original ideas here, is just sharing one piece or multiple pieces or however you want. You can do that. What else are we missing? Got details group, which we've called vaults, or basically the share link, and then the detail info, which is the vault item. We've got the users with organization, user account. What else is there?
That is pretty flexible.
Yeah, it should be pretty good.
Yeah.
What else is this? You can assign it. Also, what you want, I'm just thinking, is you want the activity log.
The
activity log.
Yep.
So let's go. We'll create a table called activity log. Activity log.
Would public activity create these things for us?
I wouldn't use it. I would suggest against it. It creates a whole bunch of overhead that actually it kind of hides the model, but there's no need. It's so simple. So there's no need to have that dependency. So you're talking about the public activity gem?
Yeah.
Yeah. I wouldn't suggest using that.
Just create it yourself.
Yeah, it's such an easy. You just create an activity log model.
Yeah.
And then you can have like the ID and then the subject and whatever you need to do.
Cool.
So you could have subject type string. You make this polymorphic.
Okay.
That means your subject would be the share link, right? And then you could have just data as a JSON B. You can store any sort of information you need, and you can even have activity type, which would be a string, which is a, let us do string, but yeah, it's a Wagner, right? So you could say activity type would be share link dot viewed.
Mm-hmm.
And then your data could be whatever data you want it to be, like what was the email that someone entered or whatever they needed to. You also want to have your created at and updated at.
Any owner?
Yep, you could have an owner, so that would be the vault. You can technically get the owner through the subject. There's a share link belongs to a vault, but this is just a quick way of doing it.
Okay, yeah, true.
Fine, that's good. It's just a quicker, easier way, so you don't have to always try and figure out how to get through to the owner part. And this just makes it easier for policy scoping.
Okay.
All right, what else is there? So we've got the activity logs now. Super important.
Okay. Yep.
I won't try and do this join because it's polymorphic. I don't know if this tool supports it. And get rid of this.
Yep.
Okay. So now you're tracking activity. So the user can log in. So once they're in the screen, they can hit create vault. They can name it. Then they can add items to the vault. They can then click on in the vault, create a share link. And they can select the vault items they want to share out. The share link is going to have a token, which you can then generate a QR code for, because it's just a URL. You can use like myapp.com/token. And I would suggest doing something a little bit clever just with, so if I can show you a URL, so Zeno was like HTTPS, can you see this? Or is it too small? I might pull it into here. So if your thing was like securevault.com/, and this was your token, generate one quickly. So now that was it there. A flexible, this is one way of doing it, but you don't know what the entity is where you want to look at the tokens. If you introduce something else that can also be viewed at this with a special token, you're not going to see, is it a share link or is it an entity 2 that you don't know yet, all right? So only reason I'm talking about this is because I've seen this happen in other apps that I've built before, where you kind of say like, I actually see this in my 4x4, right? So at the moment we have something like this. We have www.my4x4.info, and then this is the name, the slug of the build slugs. It could be like Raptor Ranger.
Yep.
The problem with doing this is that if you wanted to have a user profile, you have to add a thing like this. So you can't have all the slugs to the same spot. But if you did something like P underscore or pro, you know what I mean? Like you're giving it I'll find the library for you, but it just generates IDs like this. And Stripe and people like that do that. When they generate a token, they prefix it. So what you would do is like share underscore.
Okay.
It could even be S, because then you know that when you're debugging this token, that's a share link.
Okay. All right.
You'll see this in Stripe, but they'll have they'll have a user, or they'll have like account underscore, and it just makes it easier to debug by prefixing tokens like that. Yeah.
Okay.
This kind of future thinking that in case you ever want to share other pieces of information at that root URL like that, by prefixing things like this, it's very future proof.
Okay, so it's giving a little bit of information out.
Yeah, you mean in this kind of idea like this?
Yeah.
Yeah, in your case, it's just going to be something like that.
Yeah, yep.
Okay. But in the future, you might want to make a short URL to any kind of entity. So I'm just kind of just allowing you to see how you can do that.
Okay.
Just something to think about. I've stumbled into the same thing recently.
All right, I'll grab that library after.
Yeah, I'll try and find what the name is. It's just recently come out, and they do is just with a UUID in France, just like a prefix UUID. Okay, what else is there? Anything else you can think of?
No, that is the nuts and bolts of what we would need to do. Like, even the activity log is an extra step, but it is an important one.
Yeah.
It was making things flexible enough, because I came up with everything but I had a bank accounts table, and then I was like, because I just assumed, oh, most people, this is the core concept. Most people are going to put a bank account stable. But then I was like, it needs to be anything, really.
Yeah.
So this has made it way more flexible, which is fantastic.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So what I would also store in activity logs is every time a user logs in, right?
Mhm.
Even when people make changes to the vault,
Mhm.
I want to know that. Like if
Okay.
I've created a vault and then someone comes along and makes a new item or updates my vault item, I want to know,
Okay.
right? Especially, I mean, it depends how like you want to go on security here, but you could even say when someone updates a vault item, send an email to the owner of that vault.
Okay. Yep.
You know, like someone's updated your bank account details, brother. Check it out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
Oh, yeah.
I would
Yeah,
send that. I would process. I would make sure that that's get processed. So if it gets picked up, someone's changed your bank account details, like validate that. If it's
Mhm.
right, cool. If it's not, get in there and change your passwords and revoke some access.
Okay, cool.
Especially because you're dealing with like quite secure pieces of information here.
How do you? Okay, cool. Yeah, well, that's easy. My thought just went to like, what if they just changed the email address? But you could send email to the first email address.
Well, it'll be the user who is the vault owner. If I'm a vault owner, you can't change my email address.
Yeah,
Not
cool.
possible.
Mhm.
So that's also one thing we need here, email on the user.
How does a vault owner change your email address then?
Well, it's their own. Like I've logged in with my auth0 details, right? So I can change my own details. I am a user. I can change my own user details. It's all behind a login, so no one can ever change my detail because they have to log in with my details to change my details. They can only change vault information, so the title of the vault possibly, and that could be only if you're an admin of the vault, or even the owner. And then the vault items can be added, and you can decide like what can owners do, what can admins do.
Yeah, this is the next conversation.
Yeah.
Well,
so then you can say only admins can change vault information.
Yep.
And then when it does happen, it fires off to the owner of that vault at their email and says, hey, Sammy, change the vault from your bank account to this. Another thing that I would do here on the body item on the vault is because you're using Rails 7, this would be an encrypted column.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, in the body. Okay.
Yeah, because that's going to be the plain text. So imagine if someone stored something that they shouldn't be storing, like a password, in your DB, you want that encrypted. So if anyone ever got hold of your DB, they can't read that data.
Yeah.
And Rails 7 makes it very simple to do with encrypted columns. So it's Rails 7 encrypted. Is it encrypted credentials or column? Active record encryption. And there's a whole doc on this, right? It's quite simple to set up. Do this on the column, and then so you can say, all you say is encrypts body on that model, and then that data will be encrypted. So when you write it, it saves it like this. So when someone looks at that, they cannot read that without your encryption key, which are these, which you'll store in environment variables.
Yep. Cool.
So that'll make it very secure.
Is there a way to make it so that you can store any kind of information in that body? Like, does it have to be like multi-line string, or can it be a file or a something?
So it could be any string. So you could have store straight JSON. It doesn't have to be multi-line. It can be single line as well. By having text, it just allows you to do multi-line. I mean, technically, you can do it in a what's it called, a varchar or a string field as well, but it's only limited to 255 characters. Text is limited to much bigger sizes, so it allows you to store blobs of data. And anything that can be stringified can be stored there. Files, on the other hand, would be different.
Yeah.
If you want to do files, you would have to have a vault item attachment. Is probably what I'd add. Is that something that you guys want to do?
It's just something that occurred to me at a previous job, at a place I worked at, they sent out a invoice to a client, and then that got hacked, and they changed the account details on the invoice. And
As in a PDF.
yeah, it was a PDF.
That's really cool. Yeah. All right. I mean, it's not cool for them, but it's a cool idea.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll go here. We'll go file key string. So I'll talk. This is a different piece of the puzzle. Depends how you want to store files.
Yeah.
The way I would store files would probably be in S3, encrypted. You can only access them. So you could use a library called Trine to work with S3 files, and it generates using AWS secure. What's it called? The two keys that you get anyway. Every time it makes a request. So at first, so you can't. These things are not public. You can't just grab the file, and they're only valid for a very short period of time. So it's quite like the link to access the files secure. But that's kind of a different discussion. But what you can do here, so with the vault items, is create the vault item attachments model.
Okay.
And that would have a file key. So that would be the key in S3 or wherever. And then also like a file name. There's a whole bunch of things. I'll find exactly what you need there from another DB that I've done. Maybe I can just pull it up quickly. File. So we do it on the images. File key, file name. So that's file name. So this file key, you can see that's a path, images/JPEG on the server. It's got a title, description, height, and width, which you probably don't need because it's just for images. But that's how you could store the file attachment. And then, so it's not a vault ID. It would be vault item ID.
Yeah.
So the vault item can have an attachment. Could have many attachments as well. Like you could just say like invoice. That's actually quite cool. If you automated that, it'd be an interesting way of like securing invoices and stuff. Like you could have an API that automatically just adds that in and creates the share link and everything. So quite a cool, interesting use case.
Yeah.
So that's that model. Yeah. So is any other ideas? That means a vault item can have many attachments, and then you can share that. So that's all flexible.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah. Can't think of anything else.
Not at this moment.
Not at this moment. This model, you're going to look back at this and go, look how simple that was. But it's a good starting point.
Yeah. This will blow it out, I'm sure, after a little while. Nothing's springing to mind.
All good. Can always readdress it at another time as well.
Yeah.
I think it's a good springboard to start.
The brain's ticking, the hamster's running in the wheel.
I actually had something to say before.
Oh, no.
And then on your cool attachment idea, I was like, oh shit, that is good. But
Lost it. Saturday brain.
Lost. Gone. That's all right. It'll happen after we stop recording.
Saturday brain's the best brain.
Yeah.
Hey?
Monday brain, mate.
Nah. Usually energy on the weekend. All right. That looks pretty good. I think we've got most things there. I'm excited to see it running in production.
Yes. So
Yeah.
No worries.
Yeah.
So yeah. We'll await you to set up all the models and controllers.
do a live stream on it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Ken. Really appreciate it.
No worries. Good luck.
Cool. Yeah, we'll need it.
Thank you. See you guys.
All right.
Bye.
See you later.
Bye.